Let's chat about storytelling on social media. Now, whenever people hear this, they often think of a few things. But before we get into the misnomers about storytelling, let's talk about the reason why people don't want to storytell. Because it takes a lot of time, but it doesn't have to. Some people will say, oh, it feels like it's a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be. Here's why it's important. Storytelling, since the history of mankind, has been the way that we, human to human, communicate the value and benefits of something. And if you're trying to sell something, and if you're an entrepreneur, your sole objective in order to get somebody to buy something from you is to articulate the benefits and the value. So how can you do that other than just selling like you're on QVC or that you're at a swap meet? Buy my thing, it's great. Buy my thing, it's great. Buy my thing, it's great. How do you convey the value and benefits of something? By way of a story. So a couple days ago, I was in my private Facebook group with Social Curator, and somebody had said, Jasmine, I can't tell personal stories because I don't have a lot of personal stories that I want to share or that I'm comfortable sharing. And when I hear that, I say, that's totally fine. You don't have to share personal stories that belong to you. You could share personal stories that mean something to you. You don't have to talk about your kids, your spouse, your partner, where you go on vacation. You don't have to if you're not comfortable with it. However, you should be sharing stories that mean something to you. These stories can stem all the way back from childhood. They could talk about a conversation you had with your male person. They can even be a conversation that you had with somebody you went to lunch with. The idea is simply to get personal. So let's break this down and how to do this in 3 simple ways. Whenever you're writing a personal caption, it's easy to let the caption get too long. And length in captions doesn't bother me. But length in regards just to adding a lot of words, people will stop reading. So how do you have a lengthy caption that people will continuously read? Well, number 1, every time I write a caption, I ask myself this very first question. Does this sentence move the caption forward? So I will read the caption, and after every sentence, I ask myself, does it move it forward? And if the answer is not yes, then I take it out. Number 2, I ask myself, is this sentence necessary? Oftentimes when it comes to writing captions, specifically when it's about a story, is we add a lot of details that don't move the story forward, and if it doesn't move the story forward, then it isn't necessary. So for example, yesterday I was having a conversation with one of our social curators, and she's a wedding photographer, and she said, Jasmine, I want to attract couples who are romantic, but I'm not romantic. How do I tell stories about being romantic if that's not the thing that I possess? And in this moment, I said, okay, let's try an exercise. I want you to write a romantic caption, and then at the end of every sentence, see if this moves forward. So the example that I gave her was, the father of the bride stood at the center of the room and gave a toast to his loving daughter. She was wearing flowers in her hair and gently touched her champagne glass. But before he cheersed his daughter, he looked to his wife and said, cheers to my first bride and cheers to my second bride. The story isn't about the photographer. The story is about the story from the viewpoint of the photographer. Now, if we look at those 3 sentences, that the dad stood in the center of the dance floor, what the bride was wearing, flowers in her hair and gently touched her glass, and then raised a glass to the wife and then the daughter, of those 3 sentences, if I asked to ask myself at the end of the second sentence, was it really necessary to know that she had flowers in her hair and that she was touching her glass? Maybe not. If the caption got too long, that would be the first sentence that I removed. Because yes, it's important, it's cool that she's wearing flowers in her hair, and it's cool that she's touching her glass, but did it move the story forward? No. Was it necessary? No. And did it make the story more personable? Probably not. So that would be one of the first sentences that I would remove. And number 3, will others relate to what I'm writing? Now, I understand that every caption I write isn't going to be liked or read by everybody, but for the people who do decide to read the entirety of the caption, they're one step closer in knowing, trusting, and liking me. That's just it. I write captions not for the masses. I write captions for people who want to get to know me as an entrepreneur and as a business person and understand the value and benefits that I provide. Remember, captions aren't for everybody, but personal captions and storytelling are for the people who want to go deep with your company. So let's have a brief recap. The stories that you share on social media in your captions don't have to be personal in that they're about you, but they can be personal and about an experience that you've created a long time ago, rather recently, or even with somebody you just barely met. Number 1, when it comes to writing your captions, you want to make sure that it's pushing the story forward, Number 2, that you're asking yourself, is every sentence necessary? And number 3, will other people relate? If you would like to learn more about how to storytell on social media that will actually convert your followers into customers, well, I'm happy to let you know that this month's issue number 17 in Social Curator for the month of November, is all about storytelling on social media in relation to sales. If you'd like to get more information and download this for yourself, you can go to socialcurator.com.